Welcome to the Kamado Show. I'm Goku.
And I'm Android 18. We are the brother-sister anime duo, not in a love you like a brother-sister kind of way, but as in go ask our mom, she's the same person.
This show is an anime lover safe haven catered toward the average anime lover, free from spoilers.
This episode, we are going to be discussing the final episode of Dragon Ball Daima, as well as our overall review of the series. So let's get started.
All right, so let's pick up right where we left off in the last episode, where it's Goku versus Goma. So Goku is just, I am just mopping the floor with, or in this case, literally mopping the floor with Goma, like just taking his face and just smashing it in as he's fighting him. I honestly feel like we again, picking up right where we left off in the last episode, so you really have to watch our last episodes. We're hitting the ground running here, and we're going to cover a lot. So I honestly feel like Goku could have gotten those 3 blows to the back of his head just the way he's mopping the floor here with Goma.
I know, he's moving so quickly. He could have easily just whipped around and gotten 3 strikes back there. And I guess this is my beef with what Piccolo did. So Piccolo was like all set up and ready to go, and he screams out his approach as he's doing his 3 strikes. So it's like, all of the stealth that you did was totally moot at this point.
Yeah, screamed as he was approaching and as between each hit. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. If you're going to do that, at least, he has that multi-form technique that I think is really Tien's technique. Mm-hmm. Why didn't he just use that? At least you could have, at least attacked each person at the same, or have each person attack him at the same time.
Yeah, so each one only had to do 1 blow then at that point.
Yeah. So he does like this, then he kicks, then he never gets the last one in. So stupid.
He could have just had them all lined up right on the neck. Go, choo, choo, choo.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this was so frustrating. So that doesn't work. So what happens next now?
Ku, he ends up dealing the final 3 blows with a book because everyone's just kind of swirled up in the chaos, and Ku kind of sees, well, I'm right here, I can do this, and he just uses the book to whap him 3 times and pops it out of the back of his head.
It is kind of cool. There's a little bit of strategy to it. In this case, it wasn't just muscle flexing. Whoever was the strongest wins exactly here, which is kind of cool. It kind of reminds me a little bit how they defeated Vegeta when he was in his giant ape form. It was really Yajirobe snuck up with his sword, chopped his tail off, and then Yajirobe wasn't the strongest by any means. In fact, he's really cowardly, and he happened to just,
sometimes you just have to use a little bit of brain power instead of just all like out muscling the other person. So one question that I had was, why is it that we never see Goku transform into Super Saiyan 4 in Dragon Ball Super? So like Dragon Ball Super is supposed to take place after Daima.
I don't know if anyone has an answer. It might just be a series of theories. We can kind of go through our theories and see what you, the audience, thinks, or if you have any better.
I do think it is a much cooler form than some of the other forms that we have seen. Like some of the other forms is like, oh, you just change your hair color. This one, he's actually doing a transformation where he grows a tail and becomes like more ape-like, which is super, super cool. So I'm glad that they are using this form just because it's something different and something cool.
I want to discuss the form with the tail and all that later on in our episodes. We do have that where we compare GT versus Daima. I think that fits in a little bit better there. As a speaking point. So, and of course, Daima is considered canon, GT is not. So we can like kind of compare and contrast everything there.
Are we ever going to see the Super Saiyan 4 in Dragon Ball Super?
I don't think so. And here's why. We haven't so far, and going Super Saiyan, or going Saiyan God, Super Saiyan God, and now Instinct. that has sort of made Super Saiyan 4 redundant. Any of the basic transformations redundant. Maybe they go Super Saiyan 2, but I don't think there's much point to go in Super Saiyan 3 or Super Saiyan 4 if that uses up so much energy and they can't even maintain it long if they can just go straight to the God form.
In this theory, Goku, we talked about in our last episode, I guess I have no choice, and he powers up to the next one. So if Super Saiyan 4 is a step below Super Saiyan God, why wouldn't he hit that before hitting God?
I've seen things like comparing Super Saiyan 4 to his Saiyan God form when, Saiyan got like with the red hair. Mm-hmm. I've seen them compare those two, and as far as considering, are these like comparable power levels or whatnot? But so if those are the same, but like going Super Saiyan God is like kind of resetting things, I think you just start there and just skip Super Saiyan 4. So that is, I guess, one kind of theory. I do have a few other theories on this. This first one is almost a question. Was his ability to go Super Saiyan 4, was that just unlocked temporarily by Neva? Which kind of, I've seen some debates online about this. Blending his demonic ki with Goku's Saiyan DNA. Was that just a temporary thing?
That's an interesting thought.
Or is it just, putting it bluntly, simply a plot hole?
And I was wondering if he's only able to do Super Saiyan 4 within the demon realm. Like, it's only something that he's able to do while he's in the demon realm with the help of Neva's magical power, but the power that he imbued in him is just temporary. So eventually that'll wear off, like especially as he leaves the demon realm and Neva's not a factor anymore. Maybe that could explain why we never see him do Super Saiyan 4 again.
Namekians do have this. You see Guru do this when they're on Namek, where he is able to unlock people's sort of hidden potential, like Krillin. He does that with him. I think he does it with Gohan too, if I remember correctly. So perhaps that's kind of similar to what Neva did with Goku, except in this case he was able to achieve this new and different form, perhaps. Now Goku did indicate at the very end of this episode, so we're kind of skipping toward the end here, he did indicate that he did some serious training after Buu, and he says something along the lines of where he admits that he wasn't sure if he could pull it off. So like when he says pull it off, that's, I think, a little vague. What does that mean? Pull it off. Pull this form off, pulling off
defeating Goma as
pulling
a whole.
off what? Yeah, so that I'm not entirely sure on. Mm-hmm. Another thing I want to cover real quick. If you remember in Dragon Ball Super, Goku was doing this thing which he kind of did at the end of this last episode against Beerus, where he's showing each form. He gets a Super Saiyan 3 and spars with, I don't know, spars the right word, I guess really kind of battles Beerus, as was on King Kai's planet, I think, if I remember right. Mm-hmm. And Beerus knocks him out in Super Saiyan 3 form. Could it be that he just didn't get a chance to go Super Saiyan 4 because Beerus just knocked him out and then that was it? And then from there on out, then he achieves the God form, and then that basically has replaced.
That's a good thought.
Super Saiyan 4 from the rest going forward now.
Yeah. That could be something that the writers could use to kind of explain what could potentially have been a plot hole. So that would make sense. So we see Marba seals Goma and Degasu away.
Does this look familiar from Dragon Ball? What happened here? It's the evil containment wave, basically, or some kind of variation of it. That's pretty much the same look when they seal King Piccolo away.
Yeah.
How he's like in that little whirlwind and then goes in there, as well as I think they seal Kami gets sealed away, I think, if I remember right, at one point when he, I think Piccolo Jr., I think, is able to kind of repel it back at him. And so you see the evil containment wave brought back here.
That is cool. It's just kind of like a neat little callback. Like, hey, you remember when this happened back in the day?
Yep.
So that was pretty cool. So now, since Ku is the one who defeated Goma, Ku is now the Supreme Demon King, and he's choosing his subordinates here, going around choosing who he wants in his cabinet, which is really funny. So he does choose Dr. Arinsu to be the Vice Supreme Demon King. So is she basically getting her wish?
I kind of think so, a little indirectly. Well, this is interesting. So he's Supreme Demon King, but Ku and Du are both also created to obey Arinsu. So this is a little interesting here. So Ku is now Arinsu. We've been saying Arinsu. I noticed at the end of this, they start saying Arinsu. So I don't know. I noticed, like, I don't know if they changed it midway through or if we've been saying whatever. We can keep saying Arinsu, but I'm acknowledging that in the show, at least in these last episodes, they say Arinsu. So if we sound silly, just know that we know that's just what we've been going with. So I'm just going to keep saying Arinsu, I guess. But anyway,
Okay.
So Ku is really, when he's created, supposed to obey her. And so is she kind of in turn still in charge of him? So it's interesting. He's technically her ruler, but she can kind of tell him what to do, I guess.
He needs some extra brains. His cabinet isn't all just muscle flexing. He's basing it on character and built just team bonding and brains.
Yep.
So it was funny that the guys there had commented, does the demon realm actually have a competent ruler for once? Because they haven't had a good ruler in a very long time. It just seems like they've all been corrupt or really terrible people.
It's interesting having Goma as a villain here because he really is a pretty goofy villain. He didn't really have anything special about him power-wise until the end.
He literally does look like a clown too.
Yeah.
So he picks Du, Marba, Neva, Glorio, and King Kadan. Everyone's ministers. You get to be a minister. You get to be a minister. Everyone is a minister. Who else wants to be a minister? And as we call him, the chubby, nerdy kid, Hybis.
Hybis, we finally remembered his name.
That's his name. He's raising his hand. Me, pick me. I want to be a minister. Pick me, please. He never acknowledges him. So does he get added to be a minister, or is he just kind of like, good enough?
Yeah, that's just kind of like left up for us to guess, I suppose.
Oh, poor Hybis.
So this is kind of cool. Neva reminds Piccolo and Dende of his proposal for hopefully someday Namekians returning to the demon realm. While they turn him down, Dende does explain about how the other Namekians are kind of a little bit of nomads now after Frieza blowing up planet Namek. We see them throughout Dragon Ball Z. Look like they're settled in on another planet, but perhaps there are people who are still nomads.
Yeah, maybe some of them will return to the demon realm, and Neva won't be the only Namekian in the demon realm anymore. So I feel like he's maybe just a little lonely.
I think so.
It would be nice to have some more of his kind back with him. And he said, well, I'll continue keeping the place nice and keeping it up. So it's ready whenever everyone else is ready to come back. So that was really sweet, I thought. So I had a question that I want to also kick off to our audience. So we see this Dragon Ball super form, this Super Saiyan 4 here, which if you didn't watch GT and acknowledge it as not being canon, so you completely ignored it, this is the first time seeing Goku transform into Super Saiyan 4. Are there any cool form ideas that you would suggest Dragon Ball does in the future?
I've said this, I think, a few times on this podcast, and if not, then I'm going to say it a first time. I'm pretty sure this is me repeating myself. I'm so tired of transformations. I like a little bit of strategy to fights, not just muscle flexing.
Yeah.
I like the 3 blows to the back of the head. You can even use weaker characters sometimes who aren't Saiyans anymore to accomplish this type of stuff. If I have to say a form, though, I'm also kind of a sucker for referencing the older stuff, the nostalgia type of stuff. I kind of miss, they've sort of done away with the tails, except we see it now in Super Saiyan 4. So they are doing stuff with the Saiyan tails again, and which kind of references the giant apes that they would turn into. I know this might sound like a GT answer, but I would kind of like to see the giant golden ape. Try to work in something with them transforming to the giant ape and then doing Super Saiyan, which I guess that might be perhaps just repeating GT.
My thing that I would suggest is have Goku be able to transform into having some sort of underwater breathing abilities. So they could do a whole arc underwater and then they can kind of battle fishmen or something, kind of like as we see in One Piece. I think that would be a really cool thing for Goku to achieve.
Well, perhaps they could work something in with their recent transformations, how they're following kind of the Beerus and perhaps like Whis kind of following their footsteps a little bit. They can travel through time and space and would make things fighting like Frieza, who can breathe or survive in space. It'd make that type of stuff a little more possible.
So you had a major gripe about this series. If we're doing an overall review of the series, what was this major gripe?
So a lot of the characters who were changed back into kids did not have involvement in the Majin Buu.
I know. Where was Android 18? Where was I at?
Right. Yeah. And she did not have any involvement in the Buu thing, did she?
Not really.
I mean, I know
was
they
more
all
so Cell Saga.
Yeah. I mean, unless you count the little fight in Otherworld, but I don't even know if she was part of that or not. So yeah, so a lot of these characters, wasn't that the original wish? Everyone who was involved in bringing down Majin Buu would be turned to kids, and a lot of them just weren't involved and they were turned to kids. So that was a little strange, I think. And by the way, we're kind of getting into this overall series review now. So we've sort of concluded episode 20, the finale of Dragon Ball Super. We're kind of transitioning into just everything overall, but we're still going to talk about episode 20 still, naturally. Yeah. Okay, so we did have a question answer here.
So instead of the sensu beans, they eat bugs here to restore their strength and heal them. They also had basically a fusion bug. So they hinted that, we're going to do a fusion thing, but they never did a fusion. So I was so disappointed. I was really, really looking forward to, are we going to get another Goku Vegeta fusion, or is Goku going to fuse with Glorio, or are Ku and Do going to fuse to become like a stronger Majin foe?
Right.
They never really were like the bad guys in this series, really.
Right. That was a little bit of plot, I don't know what you call it, like a little bit of a surprise. I just assumed they would be. But yeah, why'd they spend all that time explaining all these different bugs and whatnot? I just felt like that was kind of a waste.
So we did have another question that ended up remaining unanswered.
Right.
So what did the gendarmes, is that
the gendarmes, yeah.
Yes, the gendarmes. So they were draining the life force out of people. What were they doing with that? That was just something that they're like, oh yeah, this is happening, and then they never addressed it ever again.
I thought maybe there'd be some kind of explanation there, like, they're maybe putting their life force in someone else, or making kind of like
eternal youth serum.
Yeah, exactly.
And then another thing that they discussed then, like, whatever happened with these collars? They made such a big deal about those red collars at the beginning, and then we just never hear anything about it again. Yeah. Like, they missed some really good opportunities in this final battle. They really could have, taken hostages very easily in this thing, because people were still wearing those collars that they have control over people.
Yeah, because we didn't see Supreme Kai eliminate that off of the people. And I think he was the only one who really knew the magic to do that, who was willing to do it. So you have to assume that everyone still had their collars on. Yeah, all the gendarmerie, troops, police, whatever, they could have just activated that on them.
Yeah.
Because there's like a whole battle going on in the background while everything was going on with Goma.
It just seems like they forgot about a lot of stuff that they did at the start of this series and just completely did a 180 turn, like, oh, we're going to do this now, forget about all that other stuff. So another question that we had posed, like, we see our flying Nimbus here on the podcast. For audio only listeners, we have a Nimbus on our screen. We never see the Nimbus come back.
Was it necessary, though? Because I feel like we saw the power pole come back, which we haven't seen since Dragon Ball. However, the Nimbus we do see in Super. We do see it come back in Dragon Ball Z after they defeat Cell. Gohan and Goten use it a little bit, or maybe it was just Gohan who flew it to school. So we do see the Nimbus a little bit. Don't really see the power pole ever. But I think in this series, Daima, I really think kind of focuses on what was taken away. Like they were basically their adult forms were taken away. So you see a lot of things here, like at first they were kind of struggling to fly. They lost that ability, or had to kind of figure out how to do that. He eventually did transform again, but first he kind of seemed like he wasn't sure if he could. So he brought back the power pole, which made sense because he couldn't reach when he was fighting like he was used to. So he uses the power pole basically basically be able to reach as far as his arm used to, and then it's the power pole, so now he can actually even go further. So it kind of brings back the nostalgia of Dragon Ball at the same time. So I think there's some reason for that. Plus, I mean, logically, you just can't really bring the cloud across dimensions, I suppose.
I feel like the Nimbus could have solved like the serious transportation issues that we saw throughout the series. Like their vehicles were constantly just breaking down. If he had the Nimbus, that would have been a non-issue.
Yeah. I talked about this a little earlier in the episode. I want to get into a little bit of touch base on Dragon Ball Daima versus Dragon Ball GT, which both are supposed to take place shortly after they defeat Majin Buu. There must be a little bit of a time, because Goku did say after Buu, I really needed to train, which in GT, obviously, there's quite a bit of time too. So Daima, of course, had Akira Toriyama at the writing helm of this, whereas GT did not. So there's that thing, and this is why we call Daima canon, GT not. The Adventurers. So the Adventurers are different. So, in this series, Daima, we have Goku, Supreme Kai, Glorio, and Pansy. So really kind of new characters for the most part. Whereas in GT, we have Goku, Pan, Trunks, and Giru. So Pan was kind of a new character. Actually, she basically was a new character. We don't see much of her in Z. And then Giru, which was totally new. So we get new characters, but then, of course, we always have Goku. So, you can ask which character group you like, which Adventurers group you like better, or, as far as character development, how you like them and whatnot. Let's see, what else? We have how Goku achieves Super Saiyan 4, Daima versus GT. This is very different here.
Neva
in Daima
helps out here with Daima, but of course Neva's not in GT.
It's a little more complicated in GT. Goku first had to transform into the Great Golden Ape. Basically, Super Saiyan Golden Ape. Then he's able to basically conquer that primitive mindset. And once he's able to do that, then he's sort of settles down into this Super Saiyan 4. But he also had to get his tail in order to transform into the Great Golden Ape. So in this case, he's training with the Elder Kai, who's Supreme Kai's predecessor, and he knows of a way to get his tail back. So he gets the tail back, then he goes back, and then he's able to transform into the giant ape, so that explains how he has his tail in Super Saiyan 4 in GT, which which I actually think that is a little cooler, a little bit more of a process, makes sense. Whereas here it's just
Neva waves his little magic wand and there you go. You're Super Saiyan 4 now.
So we were talking about a little bit about the adventurers, GT versus Daima, and this perhaps is a good segue because we want to talk about some of the characters. Any characters that disappointed you?
I thought the initial introduction of Pansy was going to be something really, really cool. I was disappointed with this character overall. Like, she wasn't powerful in any sense. Like, I guess she was handy, so she was constantly fixing their broken down vehicle. So maybe she's not a very good mechanic since their vehicle was constantly breaking down all the time.
Yeah. Their vehicles broke down more than the Saiyan's hair changed colors in this
For
series.
real. So maybe she's just kind of a lousy mechanic and she doesn't have very good magical powers. So she just didn't have a lot of memorable screen time. So I think that was a lot of wasted potential with that character. But were there any others that you felt disappointed in?
And we have Do and Ku. They were annoying characters, but they ended up not being the main villain. So I actually didn't mind that as much. I just did not want to have a copy and paste battle
Of
against
Buu.
Majin Buu. Yeah.
Just the regeneration. But
Which we got with Goma instead.
yeah. Speaking of annoying, we did also have Neva. This character drove me nuts at some points because it's just like you're watching all of these guys struggle and just kind of refusing to help, and then now it's convenient. I'm gonna help. Like we could have gotten past this hours ago, man. Come on. Why are you doing this to us? So that character I felt was very frustrating as well. But there were some really cool characters here in Dragon Ball Daima that actually exceeded my expectations here. So we had, of course, Bulma just reining in Vegeta, just pulling out all the tricks here, which that wouldn't have worked for anybody else to talk to Vegeta that way. So Bulma was very necessary for this plot here.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get to, because we're kind of coming up to the end here. Let's get to our overall review of Dragon Ball Daima. How would you rate this?
I would give it a 6. So it was a really fun watch. There were really entertaining fights. It was very visually appeasing. So there were some pretty cool characters, and I always love it when they include the intro music in the actual episode. So that's kind of one of my favorite things that they'll do. But there were a lot of plot holes, and then even people who aren't super into the Dragon Ball series could recognize some of the bigger plot holes. So if someone didn't watch GT or Super, you could still kind of recognize some of those plot holes with the collars and other things. But what about you?
There was like solid world building, which I think is a cool factor. It's something different, and it almost kind of like, again, reminded me a lot of Dragon Ball. In the first section of this reminded me of Dragon Ball. Then they started going to Super Saiyan stuff, and I felt like then we was transitioning into Dragon Ball Z. And then, I mean, Goku even turned Super Saiyan 4. So it's, while GT still not canon, at least they kind of acknowledge that for people. So whether, depending on which stuff you've watched, it's like they referenced all of that. So that's kind of my final review on that. Any other thoughts on this series as a whole?
No, I think we've covered everything.
Well, very good. So our heroes' adventures now conclude, as well as our discussion on Dragon Ball Daima. So that's all for the Kamado Show. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Coley, or Android 18.
Well, okay, then I'm Goku.
Thanks for tuning in. So don't be a Kamado. Like and subscribe to our channel for more anime fun with your favorite brother-sister anime duo.
Now, new episodes come out weekly, so let us know what you'd like us to talk about, or if you'd like to be a guest on the show. And we will see you next time on the Kamado Show.